Good morning. This is Things You Might Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and in mere moments, I'm going to present for you the latest in information in politics, current events, and pop culture news. Things that you told us were conversationals. You basically helped us pick the rundown for the news this morning, and we're going to do that for you. We picked the top 15 stories per your engagement for the last day. Excuse me. And have 8 stories to present for you here in this podcast, videocast. It's live. We're going live. That's why I coughed and can't edit that. For 5:50 a.m. Central Time on Thursday, the 12th of October, 2023. We're going to talk about the Eras Tour. The Eras Tour movie opens up tomorrow. Big money for that one. Plus 7 other stories and 2 actual stories that do deal with the incidents, we'll keep calling it that, in Israel with Hamas. And we'll tell you about some aftermath as we're seeing a lot here in the discussions going forward. If you want to know more about what we do at the Conversation Project, it's very simple. Go to our website. This is theconversationproject.com. We have details on how we manage everything to get you information and you get it back to us every single day. And we'll do a quick explanation in the middle of this podcast for the business part, we call it. We tell you about the feeds. We tell you about our sponsorships and how you can help us do more stuff here. Plus, at the end of the whole show, we have the second show, the fun stuff. So stick around for that. You're going to enjoy that. Plus, the origins of the legal pad. That's your tease right there. If that tease doesn't keep you around, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's get to the news for the day. Today happens to be, as said, Thursday, October 12th, 2023. We kick things off with this headline. U.S. intelligence indicates Iranian officials surprised by Hamas attack on Israel. Now, this may be a bit of the U.S. trying to do some CYA, but what we're seeing from multiple American officials is that the U.S. has intelligence. Senior Iranian officials were surprised by the Hamas-led terror attack in Israel this weekend. A preliminary suggesting that Tehran was not really involved, or at least not directly involved in the actual start of the thing, even though it is suspected that Hamas, which is essentially taken care of by Tehran and Iran is as big brother, essentially paying for most of their debts, training them up and getting things done, but had no finger on the trigger to actually get the thing started. We're seeing this from our intelligence, that Iran didn't know what's going to happen. Doesn't mean they're not involved, doesn't mean they're not responsible, but they did not have any actual planning in what was happening. In fact, we're seeing from other reports that were coming up this morning as I'm working on this was a 2-year plan that Hamas had going forward, essentially using the holiday as a plan on the 50th anniversary to make a big deal. We'll get more deeper into detail on that one as we get more intel on that one today. Related, a law firm rescinds a New IU student's job offer after Israel-Hamas comments. The Winston & Strawn LLP said it had rescinded a job offer to a college student who had made inflammatory comments, that's their words, about the Hamas militant group's deadly attacks on Israel over the weekend. Rena Workman, president of NYU Student Bar Association, said Israel bore, quote, full responsibility for Hamas's incursions, according to Reuters, an article there. Workman, who uses the them, they pronouns, wrote that they will not condemn Palestine resistance, but instead condemn the violence of apartheid, settler colonization, military occupation, and silence. Essentially, as he said in his words, blaming Israel for what it got from Hamas over the weekend. Because of that, the promising law student is still a promising law student. He just no longer has a job offer waiting for him at Winston & Strawn. The jury started deliberating in the first trial in Elijah McClain's death. This is the story of the young man who was walking down the street and was basically assaulted by police. The man who was just basically kind of a shy loner type guy that was not responding well to the commands of the actual police officers. First case going to jury. This is the trial of Randy Rodermia and Jason Rosenblatt. And it lasted about a month for the actual trial. Opening argument started on September the 20th. The 2 men are facing, as we said, manslaughter charges related to the death of 23-year-old Elijah McClain. The defense claimed that officers followed department policies and training, and the EMT gave McClain a shot of ketamine following the department's protocol, which they believe is what actually killed him in the issue. McClain died after being stopped by police for acting sketchy with a ski mask on. As he said, he's just kind of a guy who just was really that guy and walked around with the ski mask because he had those issues. Just a guy walking in a ski mask down the street, heading back from the store, not doing anything really suspicious, i.e., why would you walk around in a ski mask if you just robbed a bank out in the middle of open? Doesn't make sense. We'll see how this one comes back, as it's in the jury right now. Probably be deliberated for a day or so, and we'll get that verdict soon. Student loan forgiveness plan challenged a new legal battle. A new legal battle, as the other ones before. Two conservative groups have appealed a Michigan judge's decision to uphold President Joe Biden's student loan relief plan. The appeal was filed the same day as the Education Department launched a rulemaking process to erase student loan balances. The think tanks argued that they didn't have standing to block the debt relief, but the judge threw the case out. Now back in court again, as essentially we don't want to pay other people's student loans. And that's the collective we, not me, we in particular. The thought process of these think tanks and many people in this vein of thought is that these people, and this time I'm using the these people on purpose, put themselves in this sort of debt. They went to school for weird liberal arts degrees that they can't get a job with, and now they're saddled with debt. Or they overclocked their loans because they thought they were living high on the hog, and they now are stuck with debt. And I paid off my student debt, and I paid for my kids' college, so why am I paying for other people's college? There are pros and cons to both sides of this argument. Essentially, eliminating a lot of student debt means there's more money to put into the actual economy. There's that. There's also the role of responsibility for what you did. That's always there. This thing's going to be working itself out in court. So let's see what the next court case says on this one. This is a odd one, but it piqued my interest. It piqued your interest. So we're talking about Sherri Shepherd, who says that Barbara Walters, she knew about the Barbara Walters-Richard Pryor affair for some time, but didn't talk about. Sherri Shepherd once told Jay Behar that Paul Mooney told her, yeah, like that he walked in on Barbara Walters and Richard Pryor kissing, and the next day Walters asked, "Who told you that?" Shepherd was sitting there like, "I done just got this job." So Sherri Shepherd shared this complicated working relationship with Barbara Walters back in the day, including times when Walters was tough on her. This was when she was on The View. However, on the day Walters left The View, Walters put her hand on her face and said, "I am the most proud of you." So getting great reviews and great love from Barbara Walters, but also sharing the story that she knew that she had a thing with Richard Pryor back in the day because that's what Paul Mooney told her. Okay. Let's go to a story that's a bit more serious. So let's take this as it is. Former NFL player Sergio Brown taken into custody in the murder of his mother, police say. The Mexican law enforcement officers have known Brown's whereabouts since at least September 19th. A law enforcement source told CNN, we got the story from CNN, and deported him after authorities in Illinois obtained an arrest warrant pertaining to his mother's death. Brown was threatening with removal from the plane's captain. As he was flying away. Myrtle Brown, 73, was found dead in a creek behind the Maywood home. The Cook County medical examiner determined she died from injuries related to an assault. Maywood police are aware of a video circulating on social media showing Sergio Brown rambling about fake news and claiming his mother was on vacation. Myrtle Brown's family issued a statement last week calling on authorities to advance the investigation to her own death. They've now brought in Sergio Brown in that investigation. We'll see how this one plays out again in court. There may have been some court filings, but this played out in the court of public opinion, and it's been playing out much longer than we believe. A lot of the rumors and innuendo, apparently more true than not. The headline for this reads, Jada Pinkett Smith reveals she and Will Smith have been separated since 2016. When this headline popped up, I scratched my head for a while and sort of blinked at the screen. I was like, this has to be some sort of weird blog thing that's popped up in my feed. CNN got the story because Pinkett Smith told NBC News that she and Smith were still trying to figure out how to be a partnership after a separation that essentially began in 2016. Now, if you do the math, this is 2023. That means it's been quite some time. Almost 10 years, 7 years or so since their separation began. And they were doing some serious work back in 2020, 3 years ago, trying to deal with some stuff. As she, being Pinkett Smith, says, there was an issue with the August Alsina thing. That was a thing that actually was a time, but they were essentially estranged, separated. And so for the last 7-8 years, they've been trying to figure out how to stay a couple while publicly put on the face of being a pretty big power couple in Hollywood. And this maybe explains the slap thing a little more, or just makes it seem a little more sadder. Let's go to some happy news. Happy news for those of you folks who have a ticket tomorrow, because the Taylor Swift The Eras Tour pre-sale sellouts outpacing Barbie. The sold more than $100 million in tickets before things have opened up. And this was, of course, when they opened up ticket sales about 6 weeks ago. It won't be having a Thursday previews because they actually have to do some fun stuff like have the movie come out on Friday the 13th. Fun fact, The Exorcist new movie was actually supposed to come out this weekend on Friday the 13th, but they were scared of Taylor Swift for good reason. The concert movie is going to have more sellouts than Barbie as it is, and in fact, they're having opening 1 a.m., 2 a.m. movies to get people in there. The Friday shows are basically booked out in many large cities. Saturday, Sunday shows are there, and as you said, Thursday shows aren't happening because of Friday the 13th. It's a scary, spooky thing to think that Taylor Swift can do this to people, but guess what? It's happening. In our apologies, errors, and omissions section, we are going to apologize big because yesterday in the fun stuff, and you'll hear that again, we had a birthday wish to Emily Deschanel, who I confused with Zoe Deschanel and got really confused because I really don't like Zoe. I like Emily, and explained the doe-eyed, goofy Zoe instead of the more pristine, if you will, Emily. Although I'm really projecting in that end as well. So yesterday was Emily Deschanel's birthday, the elder, not Zoe, the younger. With that said, we're going to drop one story we didn't have time for, but you really, really, really need to pay attention to because this is going to make a difference going well far into the future. House GOP picks Steve Scalise as Speaker nominee, but unclear if he can get the votes to win the gavel. The House GOP had a closed meeting where they let both Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, kind of sell themselves as who they're going to pick to win. Steve Scalise got that pick, so he's the main focus nominee on what's going on. Kevin McCarthy said, please don't vote for me because he doesn't want to be a part of this stuff. Of course, the Democrats are going to put up Hakeem Jeffries. Technically, or not even technically, the Republicans have the votes to basically make it win, but there may be some holdouts who won't vote for Steve Scalise for many reasons. One, well, he's a good guy, but right now he is still dealing with blood cancer. He's still sick, still dealing with those things, so those responsibilities may actually super age him with what's going on. And two, chaos and confusion in the ranks of the GOP, because they are. This is the part where we talk about the feeds and we go into the business end of the podcast and how you can actually help us every single day, all night, all weekend, all the time. This is where we talk about our teaser stories, how we get stories onto the conversation with you guys, and what you can do to help us out to do that. And it's very simple. You start off by going to Facebook and Twitter, which you're already doing anyway, and letting us know what stories are interesting from our feeds. Facebook.com/this is a conversation project, and Twitter.com/th_conversation, also X.com. And let us know if stories like this is interesting for you. On Tuesday through Friday, we pick the top 15 stories per your engagement, and we give you 8 of them in the storyline. This story may be in your headlines, maybe in your bailiwick, maybe one you want to talk about. The headline reads, Black student suspended over hairstyle will be sent to disciplinary education program. The short version, this is for a few months, a black student wearing cornrows has been on disciplinary action, could not go to school to his charter school. And now that he's not taking his hair down and he's lost all appeals, he's going to a alternate education school. He's going to the detention school before breaking the rules. The rules is his hair does not conform to standards. Go deeper into the story, understand the full details on the back end and what's looking forward. Man with fairly good grades, fairly fine, upstanding citizen, but the hair is an issue, apparently, for the lawmakers in Texas. When we talk about this story, go to the feeds, vote it up, and the more engagement it gets, the better chance we have of talking about it tomorrow. Let's move on to our sponsor for today. And our sponsor, as I said all this long, is me. I am putting up the sponsorship for the entire week of things you might have heard, and I am promoting my new book called Mastering Your Money. Yes, I write books. I write a bunch of books. I write kind of way too many genres, to be honest, because the More Better Media brand kind of covers all sorts of media, all sorts of topics. But one thing that I'm really, really passionate about is business. The one reason why I do this podcast is because it is done and worked as a business. There's a business behind everything that's going on, which hopefully means we're doing good things. One thing I'm not so great at in the business part is the finance part, which I get help with. Something I wanted to do for expanding the business platform I have, which is called Business Questions Answered Here, is to write something to help businesses get better at the finance part and what I did was write something that's basically a personal finance book that you can apply to your business as its own life. So Mastering Your Money is the book. 13 lessons, tips that you can use to get your money right now, get better at your money immediately, and on the long term, grow faster. And if you're younger, these are tips that are going to help you out going the long run. If you're older, these tips may save you from some pain that may be coming up. Check it out on Amazon. It's $10 for the paperback and $5 for the Kindle version, the electronic version. Look for Mastering Your Message, J. Clifton Payne, and get the new book out. It's out there today. It's a great book. It's a good book. So check it out. Very simple. I mean, the information, I don't want to say it's basic, but it's things that you already know, put in a manner that's easy to understand, and will hopefully convince you now is the time to do that thing you know you need to do. Check out called Mastering Your Money on Amazon and other platforms as well. But Amazon is the main platform today. The Conversation Project lives at this is theconversationproject.com, where we present you, like we do right here every single morning, things you might have heard, a morning news update to get your day started. You may watch it later on in the day because it's on replay because of video, and the audio version comes out a little bit after that. And we have a newsletter that's just the links, so you can just read the links and get the news stories quickly like that. Those are 3 ways that you can find us, find this, and you can find out how to get to those at the website. You also find details on our other entities, our shows for the weekend, this weekly wrap up, and the story of the week, plus the ways we do our little TikToks and our little YouTube shorts and where we pop up in various places. All those links at our website. This is conversationproject.com. If you deem what we do deemable for worth, not grammatically correct, but there you go. Check out our partnerships page and see there's ways that we can partner up to work together to do better things. We ask that with humble hearts, and we think you'd advance for anything you want to help share us in those manners. Now, we've done the business. The news part was first, and it's time to get to the fun stuff, what we call the second show. And the fun stuff begins, as it does every weekend, right now. Every weekday, I should say, right now. The fun stuff every single day starts off with birthdays for the day. And the day, the 12th of October, that date's wrong in the fun stuff, unfortunately, is no exception. So other than the date, it's all good. And we'll explain why there's a legal pad there in quite a bit in one more thing. But first, the birthdays with the real right date that's listed on the sheet. And this is October the 12th, starting off with Chris Wallace, the son of the legendary Mike Wallace, who invented the style of walking up on people and sticking mics in their face and asking them hard questions they can't answer. Chris Wallace is 76 years old on the day. His second life, or maybe his third life, you could tell. I believe he started at ABC, moved to Fox, and now is at CNN, where he was supposed to be brought in to do the stuff on their digital side. That died literally as he came to work. Still doing the new podcast that they created for him as a podcast, and they're doing that to let him do more Larry King-like stuff and popping up for political coverage because he's got that knowledge. 76 years old today for Chris Wallace. Great work you're doing out there. Great work for Mr. Hugh Jackman. He's the greatest showman. He's Wolverine. You would not really suspect that he does so many versatile things that they picked, this show tunes type guy to be this dude with spiky hair with this bad growly attitude. You'll see Wolverine again, maybe for the last time as Hugh Jackman, or Hugh Jackman last time as Wolverine, in the upcoming Deadpool movie, with a lot of sort of innuendo on why he is in there and how it's going to work out. The metaverse is supposedly a whole part of this, and they may bring back the no-mouth Deadpool again, even though Ryan Reynolds technically killed him in the last Deadpool. Rambling too much. Hugh Jackman turning 54 years old today. And love to Kirk Cameron, even though he may not love us the way he used to love us. The Mike Seaver character, who turned into one of the main characters in the first iterations of the Left Behind movies from the books that were very popular about 20 years ago on Rapture stuff, even though Rapture stuff isn't quite covered the way it is in the books. 53 years old on the day. He is now a staunch conservative commentator, which is fine with that. You see him a lot on Fox News, Newsmax, places like that, giving his thoughts on things going on, and sometimes thoughts and prayers on things happening. We still have much love for Kirk Cameron, and the episode of Growing Pains where he is home from school sick, realizes that the same game shows are on whether he goes to school or not, and finds out that the world doesn't actually revolve around him. One of the pinnacle parts of Gen X life. Kirk Cameron, still a pinnacle part of Gen X life. It's showing that Gen X is getting a little old these days. 53 years old on today. On our history lesson for this day, on this 12th of October, starting off in 1492, yes, Christopher Columbus' expedition made landfall in the Caribbean. specifically in the Bahamas. The explorer believed he had reached East Asia because he was going that way. He thought the world was round and was right. The only problem was there was this big old landmass between him and Asia. So he got in the wrong spot. He thought the people were there who basically thought he was India, so he called the people Indians and started a whole bunch of stuff. Now, this week was Columbus Day, or Monday was a day that Columbus Day was actually observed as a holiday. And because of many reasons that we don't need to go into here, you probably already figured out, we don't celebrate Columbus Day as we did, or in most cases. Yes, it's still the day out for many folks, but it's been sort of usurped as Indigenous Peoples Day or Native Americans Day, as people who were kind of already here are trying to take it back. Quick question, quick sidebar. My very good friend had a birthday because his birthday is always on Columbus Day. And one time back when she was in middle school, she asked her teacher, "Hey, Columbus Day is coming up. Can we have a party?" And then the teacher informed her that Columbus was a pillager and raper and, killed people and did bad stuff when he came here. And she asked, "Well, can we still have a party?" And so when Columbus Day comes around, I think of partying with Tisha. So happy birthday to you, Tisha. Get your party on. Now she is moving on into her 30s. It makes me feel even older as well. But on this day in 1492, long way to get there, Christopher Columbus made his landfall in the Americas, although he thought he was in the Indias. In 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt officially renamed the Executive Mansion to the White House. So it was never always called the White House. It probably wasn't always white, to be honest, but the official name White House happened in 1901. Happy birthday to that name. And in 1997, singer John Denver was killed at age 52 in the crash of his privately built aircraft in Monterey Bay, California. Very sad day. A lot of people remember that. John Denver, for many people at that time, transitioning out of his role as a country folk star into an actor, of course, starring in Oh God, I believe. It's been a while since I was a kid, so I think it was Oh God was there. Starting to do more things on that end and transitioning into a bigger role, if you will, outside of the music role, died on this day in 1997. On October 12th, we celebrate Gumbo Day. Now, Gumbo Day seems a little early for gumbo in the day, but October is sweater weather. October is soup weather, and people are bringing up all their soup recipes on the Facebook. So why not drop in some gumbo? Officially, Gumbo Day is on the day starting on October the 12th, every single day. So today may not be the day to necessarily make that big pot of gumbo, but go ahead and start gathering your stuff for your gumbo. Now, let's go deeper into the history of gumbo, or the thought process of gumbo, if you will. Originating in southern Louisiana during the 18th century, gumbo typically consists of strongly flavored stock with meat or shellfish, a thickener and seasoned vegetables. The seasoned vegetables may include celery, bell pepper, onions. In Cajun cuisine, the trio is known as the Holy Trinity, of course, and most people serve gumbo over rice. Gumbo also falls into a different category based on the following types of thickener used. So how you make your gumbo makes a different type of gumbo. If you use okra, the African vegetable okra, which was brought over from slaves to Louisiana in that area, which is why a lot of okra is used down there. Choctaw spice filet powder, which is dried and ground sassafras leaves. Those came from, of course, the Choctaw Indians. And the roux, which is a French base made of flour and fat. So how you thicken your okra makes a difference. Most people more or less do a roux. That's kind of like the standard thing, and throw okra in there to help thicken as well. The filet is a different way to do that. I do a roux. I do a very horrible roux. And so please don't laugh at my roux next time we make gumbo. Actually, I found a fake gumbo recipe that I can just throw stuff in the pot and just boil it and kind of go with it. A tomato-based gumbo recipe. We may use that coming up in the next couple of weeks. And finally, one more thing you might not have heard for today. The Legal Pad is 135 years old this year. Happy birthday, Legal Pad. The company called American Pad and Paper Company, or AMPAD, claims to have invented the Legal Pad in 1888. A young inventor named Thomas Holy made the tablets from cheap leftovers or sortings from the paper mills. The scribbling professionals quickly adopted this low-cost line pads, and the Legal Pad was born. What about the iconic yellow pad, you say? The one story is that it was devised specifically because yellow was thought to be the color that stimulated intellect. Though hard to verify, dark text on a light background is generally considered optimal for reading. Yellow tends to be easier on the eyes than Heart's white background, a fact that 3M took to heart when they invented the post-it notes. So we get a 3 for on the day. The birth of the legal pad, the myth or history of why it's yellow, and a little bit about why your 3M made post-it notes, although I buy the cheap ones, by the way, have their color. With that, let's wrap up the fun stuff and wrap up the whole stuff. We are done for things you might have heard for this day, Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. I am Jay Clifton Payne. Thank you for joining me either live in the comments I have in live this morning at 5:50 a.m. for the start time for this show, or watching this in the replay. If you're watching the replay, put a drop in the comments on where you're watching it or listening to it if it's audio podcast, or just email us back in the email and let us know how you're getting this thing, what you're enjoying about this. We cannot do a show without you to do the show for. So make sure you're following us on the feeds so we have show to talk about or stories to talk about every single day. Make sure you're also staying limber, staying hydrated, on task for all the grand things you're here to do for all of us in the world. Enjoy your Thursday and check out my book on Amazon, Mastering Your Money, Jay Cleveland Payne. Search for it at Amazon. It will help you out. Grands, gobs, Ks, thousands, cash, if you will. With that, we're done for the show. Let us know how the changes, how the new things going on, and how you're liking the fun stuff. A little rambly today. I apologize for that, but we're doing that. And just be here tomorrow. We're going to wrap it up for a Friday edition of Things You Might Have Heard that you're going to love. I guarantee.